Hey guys, it's Michael from Chess Lifestyle, and for today's video I wanted to show you a game from my past, and this was a game I played in China back in November 2019, and this was me representing my university in a team of three, and I have so many great memories of this tournament. Like, I sung karaoke with GM Alejandro Ramirez. I got my own little name plaque thingy that says my name, and it was like the most fancy venue you could ever imagine. And the great thing was I got the chance to play some amazing titled players, including a 2700 Grandmaster, which was just an awesome experience all around. So I wanted to show you one of the games from this tournament, and this game was played in round two, and I had just come off of a shock victory against Harvard's number one. And that was a crazy Benoni game as well, where I just played the game of my life, and we actually won round one. We ended up losing most of the others, but yeah, we beat Harvard. UCL beat Harvard, so that was really cool. But anyway, in round two we played the B team of Nankai University, which was the university hosting the event. And still, even though it was their B team, they had an IM, board one, and I was playing him. So as you can see, I had my puny little rating of 1914, and my opponent was a 2400 IM. So the game started off with knight f3, and I was an avid Reti player for the last maybe 5 years. It's only recently I've started playing e4 again, since I was a very young junior. So we played a Reti, and I hate symmetrical positions. I like interesting dynamic positions. So I played, well, first I played knight c3, and after knight c6 I played d4. So I want to create some imbalance in the position. And in this position, my opponent took, I took, and played g6. And actually, as all of the lines go, there's actually a lot of different moves Black can play here. There's some lines of e6. I believe there's even queen b6 as a line. There's a bunch of different things, which white really needs to have some idea of what to do. And to be honest, I'm not too sure I know what I'm doing. But g6 is one of the lines I do know. And the point is, I'm going to transpose into an accelerated dragon, Maroczy bind setup, where white just has a very strong center, and will slowly squeeze black. Now, black didn't like the sound of this, and instead went for this early trick line. Well, it's not really a trick, but he plays knight g4. And, you know, you may think, okay, I can just take this knight, this is a free knight. And it is, and it's the best move to take it. But the point is, I'm not just a piece up. He can take my knight in the center. Now my queen is no longer defending d4. And in most cases, white will drop back with queen d1, and play continues, but it's a fairly slow game, which isn't really to my liking. And I remember looking, prepping before the game, and when I prepped, I wasn't really prepping opening, I was prepping style. So I realized he was a very positional player, didn't like any complications, and seemed to be pretty good at endgames. So that's the kind of vibe I got from him. So I decided to mess things up with castles. And this is actually not, at least at the time, it wasn't very popular. And it's Engine's second best move, and leads to some interesting plays. So he fought for a bit, and I think he hadn't seen this idea before. And I can't remember if I had actually prepared this knight d5 move from maybe a different opponent before, but yeah, I played knight d5, activating the knight, stopping any potential bishop takes c3 kind of move. So I have an active queen and active knight, and here I played queen h4, potentially trying to trade the strong bishop, getting out of the way of any bishop attacks. And here my opponent started to attack some of my weak points, so I had to move my king to defend it. And here my opponent played a very, very weird move. He played the move e6, and I gave this a question mark, which it deserves. I don't like the little pop-up though. But yeah, okay, e6 was played, and the problem with this is that it weakens all the dark squares. Like this is just a very bad pawn structure in the sense that all of these dark squares will become weak. And already I can capitalize on this. He's got his strongest piece in the position is this bishop, and he allowed me to just trade it for no reason. So I played knight f6 check, threatening mate if king h8, I'm taking on h7, so he had to take my knight. And afterwards, I now have removed his strong bishop, and he immediately played queen e5, so this was his whole plan. He felt that, you know, I was probably quite a tactical player, having gone into this line, and he just wanted to trade down into an end game where even if he's slightly worse, he will outplay me and win. I guess that was his thinking. But I've got the bishop pair. I've got the center. I have better development. So I was thinking, okay, I'm pushing for the win here. So I played bishop e2, developing my last piece. He plays knight. He plays pawn f6. I guess strengthening his knight in the board, maybe potentially allowing a knight retreat. But to be honest, it's again not a developing move. His rook is in the corner. His bishop isn't developed. I'm not sure how good this move is. So afterwards, I played f4 to kick this one active piece he does have in the center of the board. And after he retreated, I remember now TianJin seems to like me just clamping down on the position with some c5, and I have a serious advantage with this significant weakness on d6. But given that he wasn't developed, I thought, you know, he's got some weaknesses on his king side. Okay, we don't have a queen, but let's attack. So I played h4. Black tried to hold and block up the position with some h6. Now with some h5, he can respond with g5, and he's just going to try and block up the position and stop any attack. But now I played the move f5. And my idea in this position is to create some openings on the king side. Here, after e takes f6, my whole plan was to play bishop takes h6. So I win back my pawn, winning back this pawn, and I also gain a tempo on this rook. He moves his rook, and now I try and flood in with my pieces. Note that his pawn is blocking his bishop from developing, and my rook is now blocking that pawn. And I'm trying to come in on the side to create some problems. Black plays king h7 to try and kick away this bishop. And in this position, I thought, okay, I can either move away my bishop, but the problem is I'm probably dropping my e-pawn, and I didn't really fancy going into this position. Like, it's probably objectively my best move, but I didn't like how maybe, you know, he's taking this pawn, winning some tempi, threatening some pawns. I didn't want my bishop to be on the passive, so I played the move h5, allowing a piece sacrifice. And the thing is, he doesn't really have much choice, because if he doesn't take the piece, I'm going to be taking on g6, I'm going to be opening this h-file for my rook, and his king is going to become extremely weak. So he took the bishop, I took the pawn with check, and note that he can't really take the pawn because then I've got this skewer. So here he starts to retreat, run away with his king, and here I offered a second piece sacrifice. I played e takes f5, defending my strong pawn on g6, but allowing him to take on e2. And again, in this position, he doesn't really have a better move than to just take this. I mean, I'm threatening to come down here, and this extra piece is probably going to reroute to a much stronger post, and black is going to have time developing his pieces, and probably I'll have a checkmate. So he takes the piece. So in this position, black is actually up 2 whole pieces, but I'm using the fact that his pieces are kind of out of play, and if I can get some attack going, maybe I'll have something. So I throw in a rook h7 check, he plays king g8, and here I played king takes f6. Ignore the engine evaluation that popped up for a second, because to be honest, his position is really scary to play. And here, black realized that his 7th rank was going to be extremely weak. I would be threatening to play some kind of rook f7, maybe some kind of check, maybe some kind of push, maybe some kind of checkmate. Maybe something like this. So he played rook e7 to try and hold this position. And here, I thought I played the most genius move, and my opponent afterwards said he thought this move was beautiful and he thought that he was completely lost. Rook f8. My third piece sacrifice. I had sacrificed my bishop on h6, my bishop on e1, and now I was playing the move rook to f8. And the point is, if king takes f8, my plan was to play f6. And in this position, the point is, the rook cannot try and simplify the position with rook takes h7, because I take on h7, and the point is that these pawns stop the king from allowing the queen. And if king f7, I'm going to queen, and actually due to the weakness of the king and the strength of this pawn, this is actually a winning position, like +5. I'm going to go check and promote this pawn. So in this position, you might think, okay, maybe he can try and stop this checkmate threat by playing the king here. But instead now, I can play, I believe I can play rook takes. I think rook takes here is the move. And the point is I'm now threatening a mate from this side. And the point is if knight takes, then I take with the pawn. And again, from this side, I have the same motif where I am queening. And due to this lack of development, I am checkmating. So my whole body was like on a high. And I remember I was really low on time at this point. And my opponent fought for a really long time. And I think he was even tempted to throw in the towel. And then he found a brilliant move. Rook g7, the only move in the position to save the game. And here, it just stops everything. If I try and checkmate, he's going to block with rook g8. And if I take with the pawn, then he can block the promotion with king g8. And I never have any check because he then takes my pawn and he's lots of material up. So here I took the rook. He played d6, trying to develop his pieces. Apparently at this point, if he had played knight e5, this is the most accurate way to defend. But again, like, it's really tough to play, and d6 looks like a very logical move, trying to develop his pieces. I played rook h7 here, creating the mate threat again, and here he played bishop e6. Now, in this position, I actually get into a worse position, but instead of rook h7, I missed the idea of rook f7 check. And the idea is I gain a tempo, because in this position, now I play rook h7 and there's no bishop e6 to block. So now, even though he wins this pawn, I win this rook on the back row, and this is good drawing chances for me. Like, I've got I will have an extra pawn, but it's rook versus 2 pieces, but this is probably my best shot. But unfortunately I didn't play this, and we went into this endgame where it looks like he's got a knight and rook for my rook, but I've got a bunch of pawns. And actually he made a mistake here by trading rooks, because I guess keeping this rook active and trying to go after this pawn gives him the best shot. But now, after the trading of rooks, I've got this outside pawn, and my king is going to be quite active with these pawns. So this was definitely the wrong decision, and here I did exactly that. So I started advancing my king, I started advancing my pawns to create some threats, and actually, at this moment, I missed an opportunity to draw. So apparently, like, I played this endgame really well up to this point by creating some potential threats, and here, after knight b7, I missed the only drawing move, which was g5. And the point is, even though he takes this pawn, my king gets very active, because now the black king has to evade the central square, and my king is going to come in and give me some threats, which he is unable to deal with, because, yeah, in this position it's kind of painful that the only way to stop this pawn promoting is to actually block his own pawn from pushing. So it just so happens that this is all working out for me, and my king comes round to win this pawn. So this would have been an amazing find if I'd found this draw. But unfortunately I was under time pressure, so was he. We were down to like increment, 10-second increment, and unfortunately I played this king back to b4 to protect this pawn, and what happened was, we get this position where okay, he actually repeated and gave me a chance to find the winning move g5, but I just repeated because I was happy with a draw. But now he plays this king e4 move, and unfortunately we get the same position where I'm actually a tempo down, and instead of winning the d6 pawn, he now gets in time to defend the d6 pawn, and this is in fact a losing endgame, and unfortunately we got to this position, and okay, he's a knight and pawn up, so he converted the position. But yeah, to be honest, like, sacrificing two pieces and a rook against an IM to reach this position, I don't know. I thought this is probably one of my favorite games, if not the favorite game of my whole chess career, and I was so proud of it. Like, all of the threats I was creating and all of the initiative, his weak king, utilizing the fact he wasn't developed, and finishing off with this rook f8 sacrifice. I don't know, with f6, with all the mates, and it's just so tough that rook g7 was in the position. Otherwise, this would have been like absolutely beautiful, which is why I'll call it my immortal loss. But yeah, that was my game against Wei Chao from Nankai University. If you'd like to read up more about the whole event, I actually had this game published in a chess-based article. I was in touch with a girl called Chi Yu, who actually is a really famous streamer now, like aka Nemsco. You've probably heard of her. But yeah, we were, I mean, we weren't really that close friends, but anyway, like, I showed her this game and she was like, oh yeah, I'm writing an article in ChessSpace. So like she helped publish the game in ChessSpace. So that was really cool. So if you would like to read that article, I will link it in the description below. And yeah, that's all from me. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps with the algorithm. And definitely feel free to join our Discord. I will link that below as well. We're doing like a bunch of like training every day, just like whenever anyone's in the mood, like game requests, there's shogi, there's all kinds of things. So yeah, feel free to join the community and yeah, keep up the chess. So that's all from me, and see you next time. Bye bye.